Hi, I'm Kate from dailytarotgirl.com and welcome to my Tarot Meanings Deep Dive series where each week we dive deeply into one major arcana card. Today we're going to be diving into Temperance, and the image that you see on your screen is from the Universal Weight Tarot. So Temperance is not the most exciting card in the tarot deck, but I really love this card for a number of reasons, and I'm going to tell you why. So before we dive into things, I'm going to be giving you some journaling questions. So if you really want to get into this and really want to connect with the Temperance card, you might want to have a pen and piece of paper handy. So Temperance is all about moderation. It's all about balance and walking that middle path and not doing anything in the extreme. So avoiding extremes, avoiding addictions. It's also about healing and divine guidance. So there's a lot of symbols in this card, and I'm just going to briefly touch on a few of them, and then I'm going to be diving more deeply into them as we move through this video. So the first most obvious symbol on the card, to me anyhow, is the angel. I feel like the angel represents divine guidance. And then we have another symbol which is a little more subtle, and this is the fact that the angel has one foot in the water and the other foot is on dry land. And I'm going to talk about this symbol the most out of all the symbols throughout this video. But essentially this symbolizes balance and kind of being grounded, but at the same time being able to dip your toe into the watery, mystical, emotional realms. There's two cups here. So the angel, the Temperance angel, is pouring one cup into the other cup. Again, that's another symbol of sort of giving, receiving, and balance and renewing energy. Another symbol I want to draw your attention to is the square on the angel's chest with the triangle in the center. And that it's a symbol of earth containing fire. So the square represents earth and the triangle represents fire. There's also a circle on the third eye area, which I take to kind of symbolize the third eye and that divine connection. There's also a path going through the background of this card, and that path reminds me about how this card represents taking the middle path, walking the middle path, not doing anything in any kind of extreme way. There's also irises in the background of this card, and Iris is a Greek goddess, and I'm going to be telling you a little bit more about her later on. And then last but not least, there is a lot of water in this card, and water represents the emotions. It can also represent the mystical and divine realms as well. So the dark side of Temperance, every card has a light side and a dark side. Temperance doesn't really have a dark side. It's just that sometimes Temperance can be a little bit boring because it's all about kind of the need to reel in your addictions or, avoid doing anything in the extreme and to be more moderate. And so really the only darkness I can find in this card is that it's not the most exciting card to get. Hopefully by the end of this video, I will have changed your mind about that because there are a lot of really wonderful, exciting things about this card. But sometimes I think we don't like being told to be more balanced and more moderate because it does feel a little bit boring sometimes. Okay, so I'm going to be diving into three key areas for Temperance. So we're going to talk about how it represents moderation and healing. We're going to talk about balance and then divine guidance. So let's start by talking about moderation and healing. Temperance, like I already mentioned, it's all about walking the middle path. It's about avoiding extremes and really practicing self-restraint. This is what's going to make things sustainable. Whether we're talking about just life in general or whether you're working on a project, whether you're in a relationship, like whatever life area we apply temperance to, the more you can avoid extremes and be balanced and moderate, the more sustainable things are going to be. The longer you will be able to go. An example of this, so I love to apply this principle to a lot of areas of my life, especially like work-life balance, but also with my exercise and my eating habits. I love to eat really healthy. I like to exercise, but I also like some junky stuff. So I like to kind of balance it out with having the sugary brownie and chips and cider and stuff like that. But I save it for like once in a while, like a couple of times a week rather than, every single day. And I find that really works for me. So yeah. Okay. So one thing I want to mention with this principle of moderation and walking the middle path is that this is actually the secret. This is the key to pleasure. This is a very, very pleasurable path. And I think that's what a lot of us don't really get about this card and don't really understand about just moderation in general, is that this is really the path to pleasure. This isn't just the path to success or, having a balanced, well-rounded life. This is the path to true, deep pleasure. And I think a lot of people, when they hear that word pleasure, you think of hedonism, you think of rampant narcissism and Roman orgies or whatever. Maybe that's just me. But temperance is saying that actually by making sure that there's balance and moderation, that actually allows you to enjoy the good stuff even more. Like when I only eat a brownie once a week, I really, really enjoy that brownie. When I start eating that kind of stuff every day, it's not as enjoyable. And overindulging in things and being extreme, that is what it causes pleasure to be halted. I mean, ask anyone who is an alcoholic or anyone who's addicted to drugs, and they will tell you that there's a certain point where it kind of stops being pleasurable and becomes more painful. I mean, there's pleasure there too, but yeah, there's like a happy medium to be had with the good things in life. Too much of a good thing is not pleasurable. It becomes a bad thing. And that's kind of the wisdom of this card. So temperance is also about healing, and the water in this card is also a symbol of that healing. And think about the human body. It's always trying to achieve homeostasis. And so balance and moderation becomes kind of the most important ingredient when it comes to healing. The body, if it's out of balance, it's very hard for the body to heal. And so if you talk to anyone who is like an energy practitioner or does anything in the healing arts, whether it's mainstream medicine or holistic medicine, they will tell you that that achieving balance in the body is kind of one of the most important things when you're trying to heal something or trying to fix some sort of problem. So again, walking the middle path, avoiding extremes, bringing balance, bringing homeostasis is going to help you with healing as well. So when temperance shows up in a reading, it can be telling you to take a breather, to slow down, to stop being so extreme, and to really cultivate moderation. So a question I have for you is, where in your life are you not practicing moderation? This could be your work-life balance, it could be your eating habits, it could be a relationship that's just really intense. Where in your life are you not practicing moderation? And how can you cultivate more moderation in your life? I have succeeded in cultivating moderation by seeing moderation as pleasurable. If you see it as trying to deny yourself something, it's not going to work. But if you really understand moderation and walking that moderate, balanced path as being the path to pleasure, it becomes much more enjoyable to cultivate moderation in your life. Let's talk about balance. So balance is the key to success and longevity and pleasure. I said that wrong. Balance is the key to longevity, sustainability, and pleasure. And I want you to look at the two cups that the angel is holding. So the one cup is being poured out into the other cup, and that is a symbol of giving and receiving. And so when we're talking about balance and creating balance in our lives, you're wanting to create a balance between those giving energies and receiving energies. So a question I have, I'm getting ahead of myself, hold on. I also want to draw your attention to the other symbol, which is 1 foot in the water, 1 foot on dry land. So the water represents the emotions. It also represents the mystical and divine side of life. And so it's this idea of having 1 foot on dry land, so 1 foot that's grounded in the here and now in reality, and 1 foot that is willing to dip its toe into the watery emotional realms of the mystical and the divine. So it's having that balance. Now, I think we all know some people who have both feet in the water and they're, very loopy, very ungrounded, maybe really emotionally intense and unstable. And then we probably know people who have both feet firmly planted on the ground. And there is such a thing as being too grounded, being too practical, being so, realistic that you can't dream, you can't imagine, and you have a hard time feeling emotion. So it's about finding a happy balance between those two things. There's also the fire and earth symbol. So on the chest, there's the square with the triangle inside of it. And this is this idea of containing that fiery, passionate energy. When that fiery, passionate energy is not contained and it just runs rampant, that's where we get extremes. We get too much intensity. We get obsessions and addictions, and it can be really destructive. Just think of a fire that is not contained in a wood stove or a fireplace. It can burn the whole house down. So it's important to have that container around that. And that is what temperance is all about. It's about holding a container for the passion and the intensity and not letting that passion and intensity just run rampant over your entire life. And when things get out of balance, this is where problems happen. So this is where illness may arise in the body. This is where addictions start to happen. This is where we, will burn ourselves out. So balance is super, super important. So a question I have for you is, where in your life are things unbalanced? And this is different from the first question I asked you. So the first question was, where in your life are you not practicing moderation? This is a little bit different. Where in your life are you unbalanced? And think about, giving and receiving. Are you in giving mode more than you're in receptive mode? For me, I've noticed that I'm more in kind of passive receptive mode more than I'm in giving and action mode. So I spend a lot of time listening to podcasts, reading books, watching things on YouTube or TV, and I'm not spending as much time being creative and creating things. So I'm trying to kind of create more balance between those two things. But also think about being grounded and being ungrounded. Are you balanced there? Or are you super, super, super grounded? Or are you really, really ungrounded? You want to find kind of that happy medium. So the second question is, how can you create more balance in your life? How can you keep 1 foot on dry land and dip your other foot into the mystical waters. Let's talk about divine guidance. So temperance is a beautiful symbol of the divine and connecting with the divine and the kinds of guidance that we can get from doing that. So I said at the beginning that the irises, the flowers on this card, represent the Greek goddess Iris. And Iris was a goddess who was a messenger between the gods and the human beings on Earth. And she would travel to Earth via a rainbow. And so she was responsible for bringing guidance and messages from the gods down to the people on Earth. And if you look at the angel, there's that circle right on the kind of the third eye area. And I think of that as representing that third eye chakra, that ability to connect with your psychic sight, the ability to be intuitive, and the ability to connect with your intuition and your emotions is also tied into tuning into the divine realms and experiencing higher guidance. And again, that symbol of the foot being in the water is that symbol of having one foot in kind of the mystical, emotional realms and one foot on dry land. So it symbolizes being able to dip your toe into the water and connect with divine guidance, but being able to bring that divine guidance down into your day-to-day life and actually put it to use so that you don't just, because I think sometimes we might meditate and we might have some like amazing insights or we do a tarot reading and we get some wonderful guidance. But if you can't put it into practice and make it work in your day-to-day life, then that guidance becomes somewhat useless. So again, temperance is about that balance between being able to tap into that higher guidance, but then being able to make it work in the here and now. So temperance tells us that divine guidance is always available to us if we want to tap into it. And practicing moderation and cultivating balance and self-restraint will actually bring us closer to the divine. So a question I have for you is, how does divine guidance come to you? Because there's so many different ways that we can connect with divine guidance. I find dreams are really powerful, meditation. I find sometimes when I'm just like free writing or journaling, I really kind of can tune into higher guidance. Some people find prayer or like going out in nature can be really powerful. Sometimes divine guidance will come through others. You'll just be having a conversation with someone and they will say something in your ear like, oh my God, like that just makes so much sense. Synchronicity, like synchronous events, seeing symbols, seeing numbers, these are all different modes that divine guidance can come to us. So ask yourself, how do you experience divine guidance? The wisdom of temperance is that if we keep one foot in the water, if we're willing to dip one toe into the mystical, but keeping one foot on dry land, we'll be able to get that divine guidance and actually use it in the real world as we move forward on our path. And moderation and balance are the keys to a life of success, pleasure, and divine connection. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. And I want to know in the comments below, what is your experience of temperance? Is this a card that you've always loved or maybe didn't love? If you didn't love it, what was it that you didn't like about it? And did you learn anything in this video? So I look forward to reading your comments, and check out my website, dailytarotgirl.com. I'm going to put the link below this video. I've got all kinds of fun tarot learning resources there for you. And join me next week as we're going to dive into the next exciting major arcana card. I think it's the Devil. Yeah. So is it the Devil or the Tower? I feel like I should know this, but I always get the order of the majors mixed up. But in any case, it's going to be exciting. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.